Okay. All right, guys. You guys are going to have to bear with me because obviously I am sick and I have no voice. So I'm going to try to make this work as best as possible. You are in the Laughter After Trauma show. I'm your host, Deanna. I'm a speaker, educator, and coach that brings light and lightness to the heavy topic of trauma. And I'm a thriver after intimate partner violence, which led me to find the beauty and the laughter in healing. And what I do, because I believe we're all magic and we all have the ability inside of us to heal, I like to bring guests to the show that share their stories, how they healed, what brought them to the area of service that they might be in, and they share their laughter after. It helps to create community and connection. It shows you that we are not alone, and if we can do it, you can do it. And it hopefully will provide some hope towards the community by sharing our laughter after. So today's guest this might be why I can't see my notes. Okay. So today's guest name is Rachel Zayden. I hope I'm saying your last name right. I am going to invite you on up to video here, Rachel, and you will have to unmute yourself. I hit the wrong button before, and so I kicked you off the stage. All my stuff, I'm not all together today. Did you get an invite for video?
No, not yet.
Oh, my fingers aren't working. Let's try it now. You can do it yourself, actually, but if you hit that little, there you are. There you are. Okay,
There I am. Hi.
there you are. So yeah, this is why I make everybody a crew member, because I struggle with tech, and
Me
so
too.
right. So don't rely on me to get this straight. Okay, so I appreciate you doing this and being patient and being willing to do a lot of talking.
That's okay.
Um, so Rachel is a somatic healer. She is certified in somatic healing and attachment. Is that correct?
Yeah, like the somatic healing program that I did had the focus on attachment wounds and obviously most trauma informed because attachment wounds are technically trauma.
Correct. Right. Got it. Okay. So give us a little bit about where you are now. Where in the world? Tell us maybe a little bit about yourself, your background, and then you can go into your story and let us
Sure.
know how you came to.
Somatic healing.
Yes.
Okay. So right now, actually, as I'm sitting here in my office, I am in Los Angeles, and you probably will notice my accent. I think it's very, very cute. One of my daughters, my daughter is 6, and her best friend said to me, "Rachel, you have a German mouth." It's like the cutest thing ever.
Yeah. And look, I I purposefully did this for my hot toddy. I don't know if
Yay,
you can see
Germany!
it.
I can see it.
We visited there a few years back, and I just loved it. I have German heritage too.
Yeah.
My grandmother was named Alma Heil and Rosalie Burnt.
Oh yeah.
So
Rosa.
very German.
Very German. Exactly. So I came to LA actually almost like 10 and a half years ago with back then just my coworker who's now my husband. um, so we came
Convenient.
straight from Germany. Exactly, right? So we came from Germany basically to just work here. He had a job here, like that was sort of meant for 3 months. He asked me if I want to come with him. Then he always makes the joke, what was crazier, him asking me if I want to come or for me to actually come?
You agreeing or him asking?
Exactly. So, but that brought us to LA. Obviously, I didn't speak any English back then. Um, So it was very interesting, our journey. And then I always say, we fall in love with each other. We fall in love with the city. And 10 years later, we're married, have 3 kids, the oldest being 6. Then we have the middle one who's 4, and then we have the little one who's 18 months, 19 months now. So yeah, life kept us busy, at least from that part.
There you go.
Exactly. And then also in between that, exactly, like I'm kind of jumping right into my story. Um, that yeah, I started this whole healing process and this whole process of, and then after kind of working so much on myself, also noticing that I have a gift that I can give to others.
Mhm. So, what brought you? Because for me, I know for me with the coaching, um, I actually turned to get my certification for coaching, my first one, because now I have a bunch, but the first one that I got, I turned to because I was like introduced to a framework that made such an impact on me and showed me a path to heal. And I was like, people need to know about this. And so I went to the certification and, of course, actually learned so much more about myself inside of the certification. But, as I said at the beginning, I've come through my own traumas. And that's kind of what led me to that outlet. So, can you tell us just a little bit? You don't have to go into every gory detail, but the outstanding points
Sure.
that led you to need to be healed, and then in turn led you to be able to help others with this gift that you have.
So for me, basically, it started really. That's why I was also drawn to attachment once it started for me in early childhood. Like my parents separated very young. My mom was a hot mess. Like she tried her best and tried to give me this secure home, but completely never made it happen. And I know she had the best intention. She wanted to find a father figure for me. And then she had issues with men. I grew up with a lot of domestic violence at home, changing partners. Some were more abusive against her, some were more abusive against me. Like it was just the way I grew up. My mom started, I think, like now from the lens that I'm having now, I think she already had depression even when she was pregnant with me, and then probably postpartum depression that never anyone ever like figured out. Her mom, my grandma, passed away when I was only a few months old. Like there are a lot of
Mm.
things that now from the
Oh
knowledge
yeah, that
from
leaves a huge impact.
like where I feel like, okay, I learned that. Now even with the knowledge that I have, I can have compassion for her, which still doesn't make the things
Right.
right? Like it's both. I can hold space for her and her decisions, but on the other side, I can also say, I know you gave your best, but your best was not what I needed. I would have needed other things. Um,
Yeah.
so growing up this way, the only place where I kind of felt safe was my dad, because he had different issues, but at least he was like very like kind of a safe place. There were no abuse or anything. He was like really the kindest person that I feel I ever met. But he passed, like it was very interesting when my grandma passed away, his mother, when I was like, I don't remember, 19 or 20. And then I decided I wanted to live with them because I always grew up with my mom. And
Hmm.
my parents lived on two, like, basically, if you would compare America and Germany, it would be I would grow up on the west side in LA and my dad would live in New York. So I grew up
Yeah.
in Frankfurt, and my dad lived like at the ocean side. Even from the city where he lived in, it was very beautiful at the beach, very relaxing. So I moved to him, and 1 year later, he had a heart attack and he passed away. So, yeah, where I felt like that was the first. With the other things, back then I didn't know I experienced trauma. With the other things, I just thought it's
Right.
trauma, right? Like when you,
Right. I say this, when you're growing up in a home, it's normal. Kids don't know what's normal.
yeah,
And so you just think everybody lives like this
yes,
until you start getting some external exposure. And then and you probably did notice the difference between your mom and your dad, but which made you choose that. But still, you weren't sure that that wasn't just, a form of normal. And I have a question towards that too, because
mhm,
we've had a couple of shows where we've talked about grooming. And I think parents do this unintentionally, right? When they are trying to guide us, direct us to become decent human beings because they have to raise, little people into functioning members of society. And you don't get out of that without some scrapes, right? But um, going through the cycles that your mom went through teaches you a certain thing about accepting behaviors in your life that you might not have had that outlook had you not been exposed and lived like that. And so, give me your thoughts on that and maybe how that impacts some of the healing journey as well.
for sure. I mean, I think my first relationship with boys back then were really unhealthy. But that's because I thought that's normal, right? Because I saw how I don't want to curse now, but like how my mom was treated like right? So
Right,
I thought when I was treated like shit, oh, that's normal. That's how men
right,
treat women. That's what I knew. It was nothing like, okay, so he's cheating on me. Okay, it's part of the deal, I guess. I have to accept that. Like, there were very, very unhealthy patterns that I had in the choices that I made. And I think for me, I always say that I think I have a very strong guardian angel or whatever that kind of protected me, or my inner intuition, because at one point, and as crazy as it sounded, like after my dad passed away and after I've been in a very unhealthy relationship, and I was so young, I was 22, and I lived like, imagine kind of living in New York with 22 by yourself, right? um,
right.
but then I made this very, for a lot of people, very weird decision. I moved to Tunisia.
Okay.
And
And why did what just out of the blue? What made you pick that?
so I, funny enough, and I think like I sometimes need to tell me that because I also have dyslexia. So school was always very hard for me. But when I started studying, it was hard for me, not from the teachers or from the learning stuff. I was just bored, and then there was bullying, whatever. So I was always very good at school, like my grades were good. So when I studied, I saw this opportunity to be good in something, and I never had that experience. So I really put a lot of effort in studying, which didn't really make sense if you looked at my life. Like a lot of kids, teenagers, they would have really bad grades. But for me, especially, I think it's, what is that, college in the American school system. Germany is so different. So it was kind of a trainee program where you are in school half of the time and you work at a company half of the time. And I was just like, because
Okay.
that was kind of my also my safe place. Suddenly people would acknowledge me because I would do things great. Before, I would only be acknowledged because I did things bad. So you're the bad daughter, you're the bad person, you're this, and suddenly, whoa, whole new world. So I put a lot of effort into my work, which lead me to be, I was in sales, so I had the highest sales quote, which brought a lot of jealousy. So a lot of other women would say, "Oh, she just slept with the boss," you know, like a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. And then I just felt, after my dad passed away and after I've been in this very unhealthy relationship, I felt like I cannot live in this town anymore. I cannot stay in the same. I kind of hit already in a very young age, like the limit from my job positions at this company. It's like I have to find a new job anyway. Maybe I move to another city. And then I had a friend, and she would organize events for a big German hotel chain all around the world. So I interviewed there for a job, and Germany, Europe, you can easily go to Italy, to Spain, to whatever. It's like very short flights. And they had hotels all over, and they also had one in Tunisia. And then they asked me, yeah, we would like to hire you, which hotel? And they were guessing Spain, which that's what most people chose. But I was like, I want to go over where I never would go to vacation, where I would never like, I need something completely different. And I think
Right.
being brave enough to go out of my comfort zone, to really go into the unknown, to something I had no clue about, that started to get my healing journey going, because suddenly I was in a complete different environment. And suddenly I was surrounded by so different people. And I learned for the first time, I saw also healthy relationships.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. It's when you step out into those areas that you start to realize what you have been experiencing is not normal, quote unquote. It's not healthy, like you said. It's not the way you have to live. We repeat these patterns because it's what we've we've learned, and the ways we've learned to protect ourselves, which I think comes into attachment also as part of that, you know. And and so yeah, I mean, being brave enough and be young, being willing to step out and just say, you know, I'm just going to get away from everything is really good. I think you can find some gratitude in even the passing of your dad that put you in a position to have to jump.
Yes, for sure. Oh no, now I needed to cough too. Bless you, bless you.
I'm contagious.
Even it's so funny,
2,000
right?
miles
Even
away.
that's okay. Even I needed to cough. I'm like, oh, what's happening here? Um,
So
yeah.
you went
So
to
that was the first.
Tunisia, which
Mm.
that's in like a whole different country, right? Like, and I get that the countries here in Europe are very close, but that's down what? It's is it considered part of Africa?
Yeah, but kind of like it's a 3 hour flight from Germany. Like you,
Right,
it's like
right.
still um, a very liked vacation destination for Germans or for Europeans. I mean, obviously,
Mm,
still it was a complete different culture. It was a little bit of
right.
culture shock. I mean, it's also now I'm revealing my age. It's also already 20 years ago, right? So it was a little bit different back then. It was
Right.
they still had a king, and there were no revolution, and Tunisia was kind of a safe country back then. Like I don't know if I would
Mm,
go there right now, to be honest, with all what's going on in the world. But
right.
then, yes, it was a complete different culture. But and I think that's what I actually needed. I really needed to get out of everything. I needed to really see expand my horizon, if you want to say so. To really see, okay, what else is out there in the world, and that brought me also appreciation, like for even though I've had this traumatic childhood, even though like so many things were messed up, but it brought me this appreciation of I'm still have education and I still can make my choices. And I think for the first time in my life, I realized in Tunisia that I have choices. Like when I saw the woman that were working like at the hotel, and one woman was like, I remember that so vividly, she was telling me, oh, I'm so happy that my husband is allowing me to work, and I'm so happy my husband is not hitting me every day, and like and where I felt like, oh wow, yes,
Me
So
too.
exactly,
I'm happy
right?
for you, and I'm gonna be happy for me. So, how
Yeah.
did you go from hotels and working maybe in that hospitality arena and move
Mm.
into healing?
Well, so at one point, I also felt the need of having like kind of normal life. And I don't want it to, because within the company, I moved to different hotels in different countries, um, did some work. And then it brought me to Berlin, where I worked for a record label, still being in events, stuff like that. I'm going to shorten it. Then we came to LA with my husband.
Well,
And then, yeah,
where in there did you meet your husband? Did you meet
in
him in
Berlin.
Berlin? Okay.
Yeah. We meet at the
Eh,
record label. I was working like from the hotels, from events in hotels. I switched to events at record label. That's where I
okay.
met him. Then we came to LA. Then we fell in love. We started a relationship. We got married. My mom's still a mess in the background. um, but then when I just kind of thought, okay, my life is good now. Like I'm having children, I'm having a healthy relationship, which also took some. It's a different conversation how to learn to be able in a healthy relationship. There were so many moments that I wanted to run away because also I didn't know like how do you deal with love, right? How do we really
Right, right.
receive? So
Right. So having learned what you did learn, you recognize that you were in a healthy relationship, but then you had to really kind of retrain yourself so you didn't sabotage that because you don't know how to navigate it.
yeah,
Like, those abusive and dysfunctional and toxic relations feel like home. And I had a guest on, maybe it was last week, where she made the statement, when red flags feel like home, then you don't see the red flags. So
exactly.
now you're recognizing that you're in this better relationship, but now you got to also make sure you work so that you're not the red flag.
Exactly. Um, yeah, and then when I just thought kind of life is good, actually that's when life where I feel really tested me, and my mom took her own life.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Left turn. I didn't expect that. Okay. Well, first, I'm going to say I'm really sorry. But again, how did it work into your healing?
Well, right now, and sometimes it's a very provocative statement, but I'm in the place where I think it happened for me.
Mhm.
Like it not happened to me, or she didn't do it to me, but rather than there was something in it that happened for me. And where I am right now today on what is it, November 22nd, 2022, I really have so much love for my mom, and there's no anger more left rather than appreciation. And I know she struggled her whole life. Back then, when it happened, I was not at this place. But
Right.
that was basically the turning point when you said when you got your first certification, right? That was my turning point because I had no clue what depression means. I had no
Right.
idea that depression can kill. Yeah, I know somebody can pass away if they have cancer, but depression is just in the head, right?
Right.
So that was like my stigma. Everything that I knew about. Okay, depression. Yeah, my mom is annoying. She's hard. She's complicated. She's a drama queen. But I didn't know. I had no clue. That was all the things I was throwing at her. I had absolutely no clue. And then
Right. What that really feels like in her bones, or what she was really going through. It's
exactly.
it's a lot. And I mean, I know you've probably learned about generational trauma and like you said, with her family and so she did her best. And I say this, I've had some friends of mine that I've lost this way and you just sometimes I look at it and I go they just were the whole world, life was too much,
Mm.
and instead of putting blame and being angry, even though it's such an abrupt, unexpected thing that you oftentimes go, "How could I have stopped this?" Um, yeah, it wasn't up to you to stop it. All you can do is be as best as you can be for that person too.
Yeah. And I feel
So how did you Oh, go
so
ahead.
I was I think I really feel I was blessed that I didn't have this guilt. Like I know so many, and I went to how does it called, like survivors support groups, like from people who have lost someone to suicide. The majority had really issues about like why couldn't I see? And for me, it was like it was so abstract. It's like if somebody, nobody can be mad at me if I don't read Chinese, right? It's
There
just
you
a
go.
different
Right.
language.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's how
Right.
I felt. I couldn't be mad at me, or I couldn't even have this notion of I could have saved her because it was just like Chinese for me. It's like, what? I didn't understand. But then what I wanted, and I'm like a dick, like I always love to dig deep. Um, and then I got certified in becoming an emotional counselor on a suicide prevention hotline
Okay.
because I wanted to understand suicide. I wanted to
Mhm.
understand what is happening with people who are suicidal. And I also, my mom, when she took her life, I was like 12 weeks pregnant with our second son. So, which made me even more a little bit mad because I kind of just told her that I'm pregnant again and she was there from her first birth. And it was just not that she did it, but also the timing. But
And it's somehow hard to think that it's not about you,
yeah,
even if you don't know the language and you don't blame yourself. You know, yeah, like that. The timing of it. It's like, really?
yeah. And the hardest part was that for me, like this, you're my mom. You're supposed to be there for me. You're
Yeah.
not. You already left me most of my life with like, or brought me in stupid situations with really yucky men. But like now you're leaving me when I need you. So that was what I really had to work on because this was where my anchor point, my anger point, how I like to say it, really was.
Yeah.
And then
So, what did you learn through the certification in the suicide prevention hotline? What were some of the things that taught you?
well, the first thing for me was really to hold compassion. Even like what they taught me is you can have compassion even if you don't understand.
Ah, like that.
Like for every other human being in the world, you can have compassion even if you don't understand. If you really tap into your own heart, you just need to be open. And I think talking to people in like emotional distress, really hearing them, hearing their pain. And obviously, I did not once say, "Don't do it. My mom did it." Right? So I never did that.
Right.
We had a protocol that like they teach you in this training how to talk, how to reflect, what to do, even to see if it's really a dangerous situation, if it's somebody who just because most people when it's about suicide, they don't want to end their life. They want to end their pain.
Right. Right.
So, and my job was in this moment to show them a safer way to end the pain, not their
Right.
lives.
Right.
And I
Right.
think this tremendous amount of pain that I was feeling, that was what cracked my heart open to understand and to yeah have this compassion and to learn what is healthy, what is not healthy. Um, yeah,
And I think in those situations when you learn that, you begin to understand that for most people, we don't really know everything.
yes,
And so being able to have that open heart and compassion on the grounds of simply this is another human being and they deserve that is a really big thing to learn, you know? So that had to lead to other certifications because it
Yeah.
always does.
Yes. I mean, it's interesting because I think what you just said with, another human being, one, I mean, they had to train us very well, obviously, because you never know. And I think what the hardest part about this training was that you have to have compassion for every single person that is calling.
Yeah.
So you have to have like, and obviously in the training, I never had that on the phone myself. I had scary things on the phone. I had teenagers and kids, like where my heart, especially being a mom, I was like, what? You're so young. Like in my head, I was shocked. But in the training, they gave us also the example, what if an abusive husband is calling? He says he wants to take his life because he just beaten up his entire family and his wife is bleeding right now and he cannot look at her and now he wants to take his life. Where you feel like internally, yeah, go take your life, you asshole, right? But you
Right.
have to have compassion for this person.
Right.
Like, how do you do that? How do you tap into this part into you where you feel you can have compassion even for this person? And what they
Right.
trained us was that you're also helping the wife, because if you help him to even tap into this, they call it light force, whatever you want to call it, that we all have within us, soul, light, God.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that will make a shift. Maybe that will help him
Yeah.
to seek therapy. Maybe that will change his whole family. So,
Right.
but it won't work if you be harsh at him. It only works if from this point of view you have compassion.
Right.
Actually, I'm really glad I was never tested with a real life situation like this, because I don't know if I could have handled that with full
Right. I think,
compassion.
yeah, it's hard sometimes when you come from a place of experience,
Mm.
like it's one thing to be compassionate about someone coming into a place where you're thinking maybe I can help this person differently than the help my mom got and pay it forward, or just in general, it helps society, because you're giving back. And if you impact one person, that one person changes thousands. It doesn't matter. We all have that kind of impact. So I like that, but I can understand totally having to have compassion for something that maybe somewhere in the back of your head you're going, I don't know.
Exactly, right? I don't know. So again, I was just a little bit happy always that I never had to be tested that way. Um, and then I think it was just like one lead to the other, because when COVID started, I couldn't. Everything got like every person who worked on the hotline had to start to do it remote from home. They had to set up a whole system, but I had two screaming kids in the back and no childcare because schools were closed. And I mean, you talk about like laughter and trauma, right? So the hotline joke was for all moms, they have to get laid off because otherwise somebody's calling, hello, I want to take my life. But are you okay? I hear all the screaming in the background.
Right. Well, it could distract them for a little bit.
That's what we also said. No. Um, but obviously you cannot have full attention on such an important matter,
Yeah.
and was just life that happened. And I felt like then I actually started to work with my husband. He has a tech company and an app, but they were like, for me, I still wanted to be like part of the solution, I guess. And when I was in Germany growing up, I worked a lot with horses. And I revisited all my horse therapy education that I did even back then, where I had no clue that I ever will kind of use it. I did it also, like horses in Germany is a little different, because in Germany there's so much nature all around you. So basically every kid goes on a horse and has like horse riding lessons. It's like kind of
Yeah.
a given. And
Right.
then so for me, I just worked at the stables to earn some extra money. That's when they asked me, do you want to do the certification? And I was like 16 or 17, sure, no idea that like 20 years later, I'm gonna combine horses and somatics and like find something that's so beautiful.
I
Anyway,
love that.
so that's how I, yeah, basically it was, we had lunch with a friend of ours, just the three of us, and he made a kind of a fun joke when we talked about mental health and how important it is, and maybe even bringing my husband's app a little bit more into the mental health direction. And he said, "What, you want to be the cure of depression?" And
Yes,
actually,
why not?
I was like, you know what? I wasn't brave enough to say it in his face in this moment, but internally that was probably the first like really full body yes, where I felt at least I want to be part of the team that's finding the cure for depression. And then
Right.
actually I Googled cure for depression. And I did so much research already when I figured out everything about the depression, whatever, but I never really Googled what is the cure for depression.
Right.
That's when I always say somatic work found me versus I found it. And then I found this amazing woman here in LA. She works directly with Peter Levine. And
Uh,
I asked if I can go and have a session with her. So I went to her. I figured out what somatics is. And I was like, whoa. And it was funny because even she said, I can feel there's, and I don't like hocus pocus stuff. I don't like esoteric stuff. So when she said, I can heal, I can feel you have like healing, like, how did she say it? Like
energy.
energy. Yeah. And I was already, I don't know if I want that. But then I did a little bit more research and I found out no, wait, there's nothing with hocus pocus stuff in somatics. It's completely body work. It's completely physical.
Right.
It's completely science. It's completely how the brain works, how the nervous system works. And then I was just in awe. And
Right. And when I think we're learning a lot more about energy
yeah,
and really what that means.
yeah,
And I think there was some mystical woo woo ism to it. And what I like to say, like I say, even at the beginning of my show, we're all magic because we all have the ability to heal.
yes,
It's in us. We were born with it. It's innate if we learn to tune in to it. But the problem is we have come so far from tuning into that. Kids do it naturally. We've just come so far from that. And so really it's getting back to our roots. So go into, or if you don't mind explaining a little bit about what somatic therapy means. What is that?
okay. I just want to first go one because we had the same conversation with a friend about the self healing. And basically, nature, we're looking outside right now. Everybody experienced fall. I mean, probably not on the other side of the world right now. They have summer or winter or spring, whatever they have. But like the majority has fall right now, or we in the US have fall right now, in Europe we have fall. So we see the self healing ability of nature. And we are creations of nature. We have this self healing ability within us too. If we, like you said, tap into it. And yeah, somatic therapy works with the body and with the stored emotional trauma that is still within the body.
Right. Yeah, I like to tell people your issues are in your tissues.
Yeah. Um, For me, I also like to give the examples of musicians or really athletes when they use muscle memory to build their performance. Right? They train their body to not think anymore, to just go on automatic state to perform, to do their sports, whatever. But it's the same with us. Like I said, I grew up in this very unhealthy relationships. And for me, even today, even I've been in this healthy relationship for 10 years, there are still moments where I go into old patterns. because I haven't released the trauma. My body didn't relearn. My body didn't release certain things. And my nervous system is giving the same signals as it would be in the dangerous situation back then when I was probably 6, 7, or 8.
Right.
So somatic
So
work, yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Because I'm curious, like specifically, like what. So I know somatic work is in the body, and it's not a top down type of thing. It's a bottom up type thing. Is kind of how to describe it. But give me an example of something that you do in somatic therapy that keeps people in tune with the body.
So there are a few things. First of all, one of the most powerful somatic works, which is so simple, which is so funny, is to shake it off.
Right.
Like also being nature things, right? We just talked about the trees, they letting go and then have self-healing. If you look at nature, at animals, whenever they're in a stressful situation, they shake. They shake it literally up. So one thing,
Right.
somebody has problems to go to sleep in the evening or has like sleep like in disrupted sleep patterns. One thing you can do before you go to sleep, literally shake off the day from your system. Shake it off. Even exactly, I love the song. Shake it up, shake it up. Anyway, even
Little Taylor Swift there. Shake it off. I can't sing right now, but yeah.
yes, but it's one of the, you see it even in little kids when they're excited. Sometimes they're jumping. Oh, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something. Why do they do this? Because they're regulating themselves. It's too much
Right. I
excitement.
love it.
They're regulating them. So shaking, letting go, letting your body move, even when you have a cold. Funny enough, you can shake off the cold. It's
Apparently,
harder.
I need to do some more shaking.
Exactly, but you start to regulate your system. You start the oxygen flow. You working your whole body by shaking, and that's one thing how you can release things. And then another thing how you can be in your body, it's just bringing awareness to your body. So for you, it's an actual, or for any listener right now, when was the last time you really brought attention to the tiny toe in your shoe or on your foot?
Only if it was hurting.
Exactly, only if it was it. But even right now, that we're talking right now, even if you mention your tiny, or even if I mention your toe right now, and if you start to notice how it feels, usually what happens is you start to feel a certain aliveness in your tiny toe.
Right. You become very aware that
Yeah.
it's there,
And then I would ask you,
sticking to the one next to it.
exactly, but then I'm asking you right now, and you can, if you want to, you can answer like, how does your toe feel about being noticed?
Well, I think it feels like it's never been appreciated. Because it's like, hey, I'm here even with this little baby toenail.
Yes, but exactly. I'm here. And, by bringing awareness to even this tiny toe of yours and sending, not even, you don't even need to send love to this tiny toe. You're just bringing awareness changes something in your body. It changes something in your system. And then when we look at attachment, bringing attachment to the system of somatic works and acknowledging parts of you, you want to attach to yourself as a whole. Your tiny toe is part of you as a whole. And if we don't appreciate and acknowledge every tiny part of us, you cannot 100% feel whole.
True. I like that.
Yeah, and when we're not feeling whole, then we really don't feel safe. And when we don't feel safe, we are in this fight flight mode from the system and think, okay, what's going on? What's happening next? What's happening next? And then somebody says something to us, and maybe we get triggered easily.
Right. And fall into that old pattern because we aren't already aware beforehand. And so I do like that fact that you have to have, I know I've done breath work like that too, where you breathe into and notice that part of your body,
Yes.
right? Just being aware, or even taking a deep breath and thinking, where do I feel it in my body when I'm breathing? Because sometimes our body alarms us and it's talking to us. It's trying to, tell us something. And just being still a little bit so that you can kind of just come into tune with it
Mm.
is, a way of being aware. But so somatic therapy is a bunch of different things that you can do to work with people,
Yeah, and
whether it's
exactly. I think what makes it hard to explain is that because every nervous system is different, every person needs something different. Some need a little bit more movement, right? When I work with clients, no matter if it's with Zoom or in person, sometimes we dance together. Some people,
right,
we draw pictures together. With some people, we like we just do, we shake a lot, like we really where they feel, I don't know if this is normal. I say, yes, it is normal. Your body wants that right now. So it's really allowing whatever your body, your mind, whatever comes out of you to
right,
allow it and to embrace it with like curiosity. And then I think one of the other things that is very powerful in somatic work is to notice that most of the time, even we go to something very hard, there is a point in our body that feels okay. Even though we go through something extremely hard, if we listen into our bodies, and even if it's a tiny toe, right? Even if it's a tiny toe that feels okay,
uh,
there is this part. And this is our inner resource. That's what makes us resilient. And if we acknowledge that, we can, like this word is pendulation. We can go to this place, we can expand, we can contract. It's life.
right, yeah. I love it because I think, and you may be more aware of how different parts of our body hold different things. So when you're working with clients, that comes up to a thing. I don't call myself an energy worker, although I do feel like I'm very intuitive.
Yeah.
Okay. But I love energy work in all its forms. And I invested in a little pendulum stone
Oh, yeah.
for myself for the fun of it because I had a practitioner. One of my very good friends is a shaman. I mean, like, she's a certified shaman. And so she's done this work.
Yeah.
And when she did it with me and she did some clearing, I was just in shock because I closed my eyes because I was like, I don't want to influence anything by thinking too much.
Yes.
So I'm just closing my eyes. But I was having a lot of problems with my electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, let's just try it. Let's just do this. Okay. And it was just the weirdest thing because my electronics, I don't know what kind of energy I put off, but my electronics do not cooperate with me. They overheat all the time. They don't want to charge. And so when she does these resets, it all settles. But I have to do it every so often. But I just did it for the fun of it with my daughter. And
Mm-hmm.
because she experienced sexual abuse, there was this huge release and she felt it all in her hips
Mm-hmm.
and in her, like she's like, my hips are hurting. I'm crying. She didn't know. I mean, I'm not talking out loud. She's not awake. Like, she's awake, but she's not watching. And she's just like, I don't understand what's happening right now. And I think that's just a demonstration of energy is real and our issues are in our tissues. We have to connect the mind and the body. If we don't do both and we just do one, you are not going to be complete.
Exactly. It's like I love when people tell me, "Yeah, I'm working on my mindset." I say, "Okay, great." And then
Right?
They're working on
It's
their mind.
important, but that's not the only thing.
Exactly. But that's great because you're operating all here.
Right.
You say, I want to think positive. I want to think positive. Okay, great. But you're part of the brain that wants to keep you safe. I love Dan Siegel. He has like this brain model of the hand. Do you know that?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't visually seen it, no.
It's just very simple. He describes the brain like from our fist, frontal
Mhm.
cortex, limbic system, stem brain. So,
Okay.
and he says whenever you're triggered, it goes floop, and you cannot talk anymore because whenever you're
Right.
triggered,
Talk to the hand.
exactly, floop. And I love it. And even my 6-year-old daughter understands this hand model of the brain, and she understands when they have big emotions, like don't even talk to me, but because I can, and it's physically for every
Right.
person in the world impossible when you're triggered, when your nervous system is in fight flight, you can't talk. It's we are not built
Right.
this way. Anyway, um, so I like this brain model because you say, okay, great, my mindset is positive, I am strong. But the moment you get triggered, ploop, your mindset is gone. So when you operate on the
Right.
limbic system on the stem brain, so what you have to do is you have to change your stem brain, like your subconscious.
Right.
And of course, if you do whatever shamanic work, if you do Reiki, Theta healing, oh my God, there's so many modalities out there.
Right.
And you have just to find what works for you.
Right. I
And
think the beauty in somatic is that there are so many different options.
yeah.
There's so many different little things that can be changed or you can be exposed to, and there's a lot of tools.
Hmm.
And so I think that that's the beauty of it, because it is getting into your body, but it's still there, that connection. It's full. It's a full connection because you understand why you're feeling it here when you're doing the work. And
Yes.
so, it is a way to respond and retrain the way you respond and
And
release, right?
yes. And what I personally love about it most that people don't even need to talk or that I don't have to talk. I just guide them into their bodies. And then I would say, like, okay, what is this fear? What is this anxiousness? What is the depression? What is it worried about? Or like we embrace it. We don't fight it.
Right.
Because our bodies is our friend. Like I said in the beginning, things happen for us, not to us. Even as cruel and hard and painful they may be, there's always somewhere a blessing in it.
Right.
Somewhere.
And that kind of brings me to something that the way I say this, and that is you have to have gratitude in the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And that doesn't mean like I am, gratitude. People I think don't understand truly what that definition is, but it's what you just described. It is finding the peace where you grow, you learn. There's some part of it that's for you, and you need to find that peace. It doesn't mean you have to like the person who did you wrong. It doesn't mean you have to think that the thing that happened was okay. It's telling you, though, even though it wasn't okay, there's something you gain from it. And when you go through these fires, you are the person who is able now to have that empathy, that compassion, that which, even if you're not working in a healing setting, it makes you the type of person with the type of energy that's going to elevate people around you, because we impact people no matter what.
And
Okay.
then also to know because of beautiful people like you who put podcasts out like this, to know that whenever you go on this very hard journey, you're not alone in it. There
Right.
are people out there to support you, to love you, to guide you, to heal you.
Right. And that's why I like to bring that up. I say the podcast in my notes is do this. This is I don't get anything out of this other than the really cool people that I get to meet and learn from and connect with and be friends with. And that's what I want. That's what I want out of it. But I want other people to know you too, because yeah, I do this work in the area in the way that I can do it. And maybe I'm not what they need. Maybe you're what they need, right? But it's about bringing hope, awareness, and connection so people understand that we are in it together. We are more alike than we are different, no matter what we've been through. And we can be there for each other and be supportive of each other. And this is the way you heal the world, period. You work on you, I work on me, we help each other. I don't see why we can't get this done.
Exactly. I love it.
Cure, the cure. So, anyway, all right. Well, so I would like to ask you because I don't know that we have too many people on here. Monica's on here, Ben is on here. I don't know if anybody wants to come up and ask any questions. By all means, hit the speaker button and add yourself. If you have anything you want to ask, add, comment on Rachel's beautiful accent. It's so sweet. Whatever. but,
Working so
but
hard
while
on
we're waiting,
pronunciation.
but while we're waiting, you know, and it's okay if people don't want to. It's fine. I think we provide a lot of information here for people to think about. Give us 2 or 3 points that you would like us to walk away from this. If we don't remember anything else, some key pointers that you say, hey, just remember this,
Okay.
you
So
know.
one point that I always say that I also did for myself is whenever you're in a bad place, seek help. There's no
I
shame.
love it.
There's
Love
no,
it.
yeah, there's no shame. There's nothing wrong. Seeking help, asking a friend, calling a suicide hotline, even if you're not suicidal, but you feel like in emotional distress. Whenever you are in a dark place, don't be shy to go out, seek for help, open up about it. Because, like you said, maybe it's not even for you, for this person. Maybe you will help somebody else with it. You never know who's sharing your pain or
Right.
who will be encouraged to open up about themselves. So this is number one. um, Number two is healing is possible. Um,
Right.
Also, whatever you go through, however painful the situation is, there's this old saying, "This shall pass too."
Mhm.
It does. It will.
And it's not to minimize what you're going through, but I like to tell people if you made it to 30, then you know you can make it through things.
Oh no, I know the coughing is so hard. Somebody shared on Twitter, everyone in America is coughing right now. Posted it then on Instagram.
It's frustrating, but
Yes,
you've made it through all of your hard times, and so you will make it through this one too. And we
exactly.
don't make it through anything alone. We do it
Yes.
together. So if you need the help, reach out. So okay, good. Ask for the help, and you're not
No, you
alone.
can heal.
No, you can heal.
Exactly. And the third one is, I think, which is connected because you asked me, like, what is your laughter? One thing is about sometimes find like the humor in things. I remember when you asked me when I was very in the beginning when I was laughing. I remember after my mom passed and I was pregnant, I would say, my mom took her own life and I cannot even have a drink because I'm pregnant. I was cracking up about myself.
Right.
Because I'm like, I cannot even get drunk.
Right.
Like, what is
Right.
this?
It's about,
And
yeah, finding that one thing that can just pull stuff into perspective. I think laughter does that.
exactly. Like some sort of self irony. I hope I pronounced that right.
Mhm.
To take it with you, to allow yourself to love and love about the little things in life.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap up here because I don't think I can go much further. I like to tell you, I see you and you are beautiful. I say
Mm,
this to all my guests because they are. I find like I'm connecting with the most amazing people and it's beautiful, you know? And I do feel like I see you. And so I want you to know that. And I want everybody here to know that too, that so are you.
yeah.
And so my advice here is just besides from telling you thank you so much for doing this and doing a lot of the talking, I appreciate it. And to let people know just stay connected, love each other, and until next week. Actually, I don't think I'm going to be here next week cuz I'm going out of town Tuesday. But you guys stay connected, love each other, and just shine on. Don't dim your light. Just shine. We're all beautiful.
Yes.
All right, Rachel.
Amen.
Thank you so much for
Thank
coming by.
you.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna put some music on while I try to bring all of this down.
Okay. Bye. Good night.
Bye.
Feel
Thank you so
better.
much.